Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Housing Summit 2.0 Progress Report. This event is presented by RESCON and sponsored by Toronto Regional Real Estate Board and the Federation of Rental Housing Providers of Toronto. My name is Todd Latham. I'm the President and Chief Bottle Washer of Actual Media. We're the event partner with RESCON, delivering this content on this amazing WOLVA platform, and I'm going to be your host today. Make sure things go smoothly and on time. Before we begin, I would like to take a few moments to acknowledge the many First Nations and Indigenous peoples of Canada as the original stewards of this great country. I'm here in Toronto, which is located on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. We all share in the responsibility of our natural infrastructure, and there's much we can learn from the traditional knowledge of the land, water, and materials that allow us to build housing that benefits all Canadians. I'd like to remind everyone to leave your thoughts on the community board. Apparently everybody's using it already, so that's fantastic. See who else is attending in the attendees section and check out the documents in the shared resources. And also, of course, visit the sponsor pages. So use the app. I think you're already doing it. It's an extra layer of involvement in this event today. If you have any technical issues during the event, please email our event manager, Sarah, and our email is sarah@actualmedia.ca. And I'm Todd at Actual Media CA if you want to complain about my hosting duties in the future. I'd now like to introduce Richard Lyle for our opening remarks. Richard is president of the Residential Construction Council of Ontario and has represented the residential construction industry since 1991. He doesn't look that old, but he does have the experience. Over to you, Richard.
Thanks, Todd. And good to see everybody again, although I can't really see you, but those of you who were on for the first one, welcome back. Glad you came back. And for new people, well, welcome aboard. This, of course, we call this 2.0. I don't know what we're going to call the next one, but there will be a next one. And but we appreciate you being here to discuss one of the most challenging issues of our time, and one which requires immediate, collaborative, dedicated action. Let me begin by first thanking our sponsors too, as Todd did. We appreciate their support. They're really more partners than sponsors, really, but anyways. And a special thank you to our Provincial Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Honorable Steve Clark, and other elected representatives. We know they're busy, and we appreciate their joining this session. I believe it's fair to say that Minister Clark and Premier Ford's government and team continue to be one of the most activist provincial governments on the housing file in a generation, and we thank them for that. I would also like to extend thanks to our board members and the members of RESCON for supporting this effort. What we face in terms of housing supply and affordability is a generational challenge. We are deep in the midst of a crisis unlike anything we've really ever experienced. We've all seen this crisis coming, and quite frankly, to some of us, it's been coming like a slow-moving train wreck. The metrics are not good. They do speak volumes, though. Canada has the lowest amount of housing per capita amongst the G7 countries. As a nation, we're 34th out of 35th. This is an OECD data point, 34th out of 35 countries in dealing with development approvals and so on. And of course, the World Bank numbers, some of you know this, we're 64th out of 190 countries in construction permitting. That's not good. The Toronto Region Board of Trade and Wood Green Community Services report showed that a lack of affordable housing is costing the GTA $8 billion a year and $38 billion over 5 years. And that doesn't include, frankly, the mental health issues and challenges that are faced by many with not having suitable housing. We're experiencing much needed increased levels of immigration, but also unprecedented costs for housing and massive pressures in creating places for newcomers to live. Ontario is very much at the center of this, and we need a regional focus in terms of solutions. With unparalleled mobility these days, we are competing with large cities, but also with up-and-coming hungry mid-sized cities. Think of Charlotte, Austin, Calgary. I mean, Calgary's already advertising here. These competitor cities are only too happy to take the best and the brightest who would prefer to live here but can't. find affordable places to live. Make no mistake, unaffordable housing creates a brain drain and even population decline. And for the first time, we actually saw the city of Toronto's numbers drop. I mean, it was a little bit, but it's indicative. This includes young children who are moving away with their parents, resulting in a generational loss of labor, both those who are working now and the younger people who will grow up somewhere else and become part of somewhere else's labor pool and talent pool. We all know that the epicenter of our housing supply and affordability crisis is here in the GTA. And the GTA is 20% of Canada's GDP. So, you know, we've got to get it right. While we literally live on the best piece of real estate on the planet, this is of little long-term value in advancing our economic interests and quality of life if it's simply unaffordable for most people to live here. As I mentioned earlier, we're fortunate to have a provincial government that gets it. We at RESCON understand it too and are working on solutions with others. And I'm also glad to see millennials are now really engaged in this issue, and they need to be. We have developed a 15-point plan of action we're calling Housing Ontario's People Everywhere. We thought it was appropriate acronym, HOPE. It's a call to action with effective recommendations that can be quickly implemented. We developed our plan after consulting with a wide array of stakeholders, including large and small developers, nonprofit housing builders and providers, supportive housing groups, stakeholder associations, planning lawyers, former elected officials, and millennial groups in particular. What we heard from these very diverse groups was essentially kind of what we knew, but there were some good ideas that came forward, but there was a startling alignment, let's say. And it confirmed just how aligned we all are in identifying the problems and solutions. Our 15-point plan calls for action from all levels of government and the broader housing sector and asks them to think and act differently than we have to date. As Einstein once noted, you'll never fix a problem on the level at which it was created. Half measures will avail us nothing, and it is definitely not the time for weak or unfocused action. As most of you will know, this is our second summit, and since the first one, we have fortunately seen some things advance. And as I mentioned, we're going to have a third one. But for the first time, all political parties and stakeholders fully accept that there is a supply crisis. And frankly, that was not always the case, but it is now, and that's what matters. Everyone now accepts the minimum goal of 1.5 million new homes being built within the next decade, if not more, if you believe the CMHC. This approach and target is consistent with demographic projections. And the report was peer reviewed, the task force report. But you know, the bottom line is demographics don't lie. We've also seen the provincial government begin the implementation of the recommendations from their, and it was a groundbreaking, Ontario Housing Affordability Task Force report with the, I think, 52 recommendations. RESCON was also pleased to see the re-election of our Yes in My Backyard, Get It Done provincial government, and we were proud to have endorsed Premier Ford in the June election. We're also encouraged to see Mayor John Tory's 5-point housing plan that he has released as part of his re-election platform. This too is a positive step, as will be the proposed development and growth division within the city. These actions do come in a period of even more challenging times for the residential construction sector, though. We must now deal with inflation rates that are driving a market correction, higher interest rates that continue to climb, unpredictable and increasingly problematic supply chains, a 30% increase in the cost of building, challenges in recruiting and training skilled tradespeople, an unresponsive immigration system that should be welcoming skilled tradespeople faster. We need them. And unfortunately, we're still dealing with the not in my backyard groups who either don't appreciate or don't care about the scale of the challenge facing other people in terms of affordability. But you know, with all those things, I mean, let's remember, we never shut down through COVID. We kept working, proud of our industry. We kept producing houses under the most difficult circumstances. And we're pretty much through that, touch wood. So, you know, no barrier is is one that can survive for long, in my view. And I think if we get it together, we'll get it done. But all of these realities, though, and these situations are kind of all incorporated into thinking in our HOPE plan. And it's focuses on appropriately the three levels of government, because all three have to be in this. And so at municipality, we want a real fix for largely, and there's some other things, but an outdated, unresponsive, dysfunctional planning and approvals process. No offense to anybody, but we can do better. For the province, we ask them to continue the work they've started and keep the pedal down. And for the federal government, we ask that they deal with the financial disincentives for residential construction, which they need to fix if we are to see housing supply increase and affordability return in the numbers that are needed. I invite you to review these 15 points. They're in the WOVA files and also on our website, and any comments or suggestions are most welcome. I'm not saying that, you know, we got it right entirely. So, you know, and it really is truly a collaborative effort. And I assure you that, though, RESCON is completely behind and committed to this with our partners in getting this right for the right reasons. And one thing I'll add to is that at the end of the day today, you'll hear from Arash Shahi, and I'm pleased to report that the One Ontario initiative has now received funding from CMHC to proceed. And that's the digitization of the process, which is long overdue. So if we can achieve the kind of commitment from all parties concerned and work together effectively, we have a reasonable, notice I said reasonable, prospect of success. And I say reasonable because this isn't going to be easy. We've got a lot of challenges ahead of us. A big one, you know, of course, in the area of innovation too. Like we've got to actually build differently, and that's a challenge for the industry. And because if we don't, we're you know, that's another issue. But I think, you know, hopefully generations, or at least my kids later on, and maybe yours and whatever, will at least look back on this time and say that they got it done and they got it right, and that's good, because we have to do that. So I want to thank you again for joining us today. This is really important, and I can tell you that, you know, our objective here is with the best of intentions in mind. It pains me every time I think of people that are living in third world conditions in Canada, because, you know, I grew up in the third world, and believe me, you know, we don't belong there, right? And they don't belong there, but that's another story. So we've got some excellent panelists and speakers lined up today. And you know, the other thing that we have to keep in mind, all great cities, if you look at the histories of cities, they all hit pivotal moments. And this is a pivotal moment for the GTA. So anyways, with all that in mind, thanks again for being here, and I'm looking forward to the presentations to come and further collaboration and so on. Anyways, over to you, Todd. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. NIMBYism aside, obviously RESCON is doing the leadership work to get this job accomplished, and your words give us hope to further housing in Ontario. So we're going to move to our next session on current state of housing supply update, economic update from Jason Mercer. He's going to present TREB's GTA housing market outlook for 2022. To access this session, navigate over to the agenda on the app and open the session, and that will start exactly 1:15. So you've got 1 minute to get over there and click on the link. We'll see you there. Thanks.